and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and with me in the Rabbit Hole studio today is a talented producer slash actress, Miss Jordan Elizabeth Gelber. Welcome, Jordan.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. You're a Brooklyn girl, so you're not too far away.
No.
You didn't have to schlep from like the Bronx or Jersey or something.
No, it's good.
I had somebody on a recent episode was from L.A.
Mm-hmm.
She was in town for a film festival, and that's the furthest guest so far. So you're probably one of the closer ones, though, because you're like down the street. But anyway, let's get right into it. Thank you for showing up. I always appreciate it when people do. And so you've been doing this. You've been producing. You've been acting for a while. How did you get into it? Like, what's your origin story, so to speak?
Oh, my origin story. I love when people say that. So, yeah, I have been living in New York for the last 12 years, and I've always been in the acting industry. I've always wanted to be an actor, and I knew the minute I moved here that I wanted to just do it versus like trying to go to school further for it. Just wanted to go out there and do it. And over the years, through acting professionally in New York, I was able to start producing. I had my own freelance graphic design business when I graduated college, and I went to Marymount Manhattan College. That was cool. And just freelance graphic design led me to working in fashion, which led me to starting my own business. I used to produce independent fashion shows. And long story short, I woke up one day and was like, why am I doing events? This is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I've just been producing films since like end of 2014, middle of 2015.
And you have a company.
Yes.
What is the name of your company? And kind of tell us, because you do a bunch of different stuff with your company.
I do too much.
So talk about kind of the production aspect of it, because I know you do marketing with it as well. Mm-hmm. But kind of, if you can explain sort of in a nutshell what it is and what you're working on.
So my company is Starbaby Enterprises, and we are a marketing and production firm based out of New York. We have clients all over the world, and mostly what I do is that I'm known for my producing elements as well as my production elements. So we help shows and feature films and short films and commercials and everything either find funding, distribution, sponsorship. That's like the producing angle. I help like projects get made, but also we have a full-blown production studio out of my home office, and we have our own equipment. Last year we had the pleasure of doing our first national commercial, and we've created original web series that's taken us all over the world. We went to Korea last year. We're going to go to Korea again this year. So cool.
Very cool. Tell me about some of the projects that you guys have worked on. Like, pick two or three that you want to highlight.
I think the coolest stuff I'm doing right now that I'm really proud of is we have a unscripted TV show called The Love Darvini Show with our amazing lifestyle connoisseur Darvini, and she was really inspired by some of the great people out there. Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, all that good stuff. Basically, I like to consider her like if Anthony Bourdain and Martha Stewart had a love child and an ashram, that would be her. And what's great is she's so eccentric, and we were able to she wanted just some video content for marketing purposes and her brand. And what ended up happening is creating this awesome show about her lifestyle in Florida, the fact that she's French American, and bring all those elements together and realizing there wasn't something like that on TV. And what's happening now is we have the ability to present her show to some major networks that we're talking to, as well as going the web series distribution route, which is really hot right now, working with some great OTT network affiliates that you could watch her show now if you wanted to. And we're going to take her show. We just got accepted to the Seoul Web Fest in August. So
tell me about the process, because I don't think a lot of people are kind of aware, when you go through a production company, or like how it goes. Like, it's sort of like how a bill becomes a law, which probably some current people in Congress could learn. But like, so when a project comes to you, like, how does it come to you, and what process do you, like, where do you get the ball, and
like
where do you take
stage?
it? Yeah, is it something like, do people come to it in, is it script stage, is it development stage, or is it like we've already shot this thing and we're looking for distribution, or a combination thereof?
I think the best answer is we take all projects in all stages. I really believe, I've been really passionate about storytelling. That's really kind of been my 2018 buzzword. Just the fact that everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has should have the right to have their story be heard and shared amongst the world. So I take shows that are like, I have this great concept. I would love to hire you to help me organize it, whether it's in the script stage or like I want to put the shot list together, start filming it stage. Or we're like, hey, me and my friends shot this great video. I would love to take it to the next level. Do you think it's ready? If it's ready, can you help me get to it to be seen by like my desired network or desired producer or desired director? I think there's no stage that I wouldn't work with. I think the only stages I worry about is the stage of the person who's actually developing it. If you are as tenacious as you want me to be, I will be right there with you. But a lot of the time, I sometimes get these people that just come to me and they're just like, here, take my project, take it to the next level. Cool. Great. So let's do this thing. And they just expect me to be like a miracle worker, which I believe in my ability to do so. But if it's your story, I want to be passionate with you. So if it's really more about like, is the person in the mindset to take their project to the next level?
I totally agree with you. I actually was working with some young would-be filmmakers recently, and a bit of the advice I gave them was, you cannot be more passionate about somebody else's project than they are. Exactly. It's a recipe for disaster. Mm-hmm. And I know because I've done it. And I've been disappointed. It will disappoint you every time. You only have so much time, energy, and money in life. And putting those things into somebody else's project is a risky venture. So that's what you do for other people. Mm-hmm. What about the projects that you guys develop for yourselves?
It's so interesting. Like this year, for me, was a year where I was very big. Like last year for Starbaby and for myself individually, it was very much about really marinating in the world of like web series production development. Because if people don't know, web series are like the thing around the world. The United States is just catching up to it. So I was really excited and very, very fortunate enough to really just dive deep into that. So after working with a bunch of already produced projects and helping them get distribution, this year we're really focusing, especially over the summer, to focus on in-house projects. So this year we already have several original shows putting together. I have a feature film that I'm hopefully, knock on wood, going to put together by the end of the year. And then also I'm in development with a show that I've been really kind of having conversations with myself about, that I'm going to create as a web series, which pretty much is going to share the insight of like creating original work, actors, writers, and directors, and also creating some like film scene work. So in a nutshell, we're going to do like a hybrid show of like an interview as well as a scene, and seeing what we can, learn from that experience.
And what was the kind of the why behind this stuff? Like what was the impulse initially for doing your own stuff? Because the other stuff, hopefully you're working with partners and they're paying you to do this, but it's considerably much more effort to do your own work. Mm-hmm. Been there, done that. What was the kind of thing that motivated you in terms of like, I want to do this because, not just because there's a market for it, because mm-hmm. there's a particular story I want to tell, or what was that behind that?
I think the why behind that for me is really that I went to my sweat equity bank and realized I was, milking it dry, not for anything that I regret. When I throw myself into a project, I really just throw myself into it because I know that I provide a need for someone that they might not necessarily have. And I know that the best projects that are made is when you partner with people where your strengths are their weaknesses and their strengths are your weaknesses. But many times I just would put so much into it, and I realized that like for the same pay and the same amount of time, I could really start working on my own stuff. And I really, I didn't want to be one of those like cocky producers that are very much like, oh, well, I'll help you with your project if you put me in it. And I didn't want to be that person. And I'm happy I didn't up till now, but now I'm very much like, I want to make my own projects because I want to act. Acting is my passion. And the whole reason I started my own company was to have the freedom to follow my dreams. And now in a world where, making your own break is not only trendy, it's possible, and as actually people have made their own careers happen, that I'm ready to put myself out there. I'm ready to call in those favors.
I think it's interesting. We're sort of in this weird time right now where it's still, particularly on the web, it's like still a bit of the Wild West. Mm-hmm. And I'm still of the mindset that nobody cares about your short film, nobody cares about your web series, especially if you produced it and acted in it. But there's enough there've been enough projects that have been successful,
Of course.
that have given people hope, and it's like, well, what's the difference? What are you seeing now that's been successful that you think, oh, you know what, this is what they had above other people? Or like, if you had to give, I always ask people, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice before you started, what would you say to yourself? So what would you say to somebody now having produced several, what would you say somebody looking to do their own thing?
First and foremost, stop waiting for the money. I think that honestly, that's like, that probably is my biggest pet peeve. Is like, oh, I'll only make this if I have, if I have the $500 to rent the camera that I wanted, I'll make my film this weekend. And it's like, you know what? Tangerine was made on an iPhone, and that guy's career is blowing up. After the Florida project is huge. Then, because iPhones shoot in 4K, and if you
Steven Soderbergh, his last film was shot on the iPhone. Unsane, I think it was called. It was like a thriller kind of thing. The whole thing was
with
shot
Claire Foy, right?
She from The Crown. That whole. I don't recommend people shoot on iPhones, but if you because you
get a rig, get a rig.
Well, also
it can happen.
It's not like they're taking the phone out of their pocket and shooting a feature film with it. They on Tangerine they use like 4 different phones, and they were just gotten to be cameras.
Of course.
But between the iPhone DSLRs and stuff, it is there, and the quality is pretty damn good.
And even if you don't, like, let's say you're not a cinematographer, what really inspired me to start my company, and not to go back in conversation, but the biggest thing for me, I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, and the coolest thing I found at the time was, like, social media was just coming out, like, was just about to explode. It was when MySpace, for all those MySpace users, MySpace was making musicians.
The young people that watch this show are Googling what MySpace is right now.
Google, what's MySpace? Alexa, what is this ancient thing?
What is MySpace?
Friendster.
Friendster. Yeah.
God.
Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Memory lane is always hilarious when there's someone to share it with you. I wrote my thesis in college about young professionals in the entertainment industry using social media to brand market themselves, because at the time YouTube was just very new and MySpace was making musicians. And what I was excited about was that I knew that if I woke up like tomorrow morning, and I was probably like 19, 20 at the time, I was like, I can wake up in the morning and I could pick out all my friends that are musicians, and I could pick out all my friends that want to be filmmakers, and I'm in college right now where there's cameras, that I knew that I could wake up tomorrow morning. If I didn't have a band, I could put a band together, I could write a song in a week, and I could shoot a music video if I really, really wanted to, and without any money. And I think that applies even to today. So my biggest thing for anyone out there who wants to make their own content, it's like, stop waiting for the money. Your ambition is the currency that you need, and your sweat equity is the currency that you need. Because if you are passionate about making it happen and you make it a must, it'll happen.
How do you make it good? That's the question. Because yes, now everybody can take the phone in their pocket and make content, but 99% of it is going to be terrible. So for the people who
people at home,
for the people who really are serious about this, because any schmuck can shoot a vlog.
It's true.
Anybody can do that, and that's fine, and there's a place for that.
Of course.
But I think our audience is more about filmmaking and more about
how to make a quality project.
How do you make a quality project?
I think the first thing is understanding every job on a film project that you don't know. And then really, truly finding people that you're okay with sharing your time, your credit, and your opportunity with. Because if everyone's on there and on the same, if you get like an AD, like an assistant director that's really top notch, and you're like, this person is so OCD, I know I'm going to keep in time and I'm going to make it happen. And you find a guy who's like a really great cinematographer, passionate about it, like films, claymation by himself on the weekends, like whatever everyone's shtick is. I think that also I'm really impressed with how much Yiddish we've had in conversation today. Whatever their thing is, I feel like if you really populate the project with people that are equally as passionate, as driven as you are, you guys will keep each other honest. When it's a not quality project. I think that, find someone as your litmus test.
Well, you also have to kind of find people who are at the same level as you.
Yeah.
Like Roger Deakins is probably not going to work with you. On your first film,
I liked Blade Runner so much.
Yes, but the kid who's you know, if you're a young person, the kid who's studying to be a DP, he probably will work with you.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to make sure they're serious about it and that they'll show up. And like, you know, Woody Allen said that 80% of success is just showing up.
Showing up, yeah.
You know, so tell me about before I got to wrap things up in a little bit, but tell me what's upcoming for you guys in terms of like, what people should be looking for, if you can say.
Oh, I can say some stuff.
So tell me about those projects and tell me about some stuff that you've got currently running on the web right now.
Cool. So many things. I think first and foremost, go to our website, StarbabyEnterprises.com. On there, you can see some of the shows that we've been working with over the last year. Some of them are international and are really fun. I really encourage people to check out more international shows. I definitely am very excited about the Love Darvany show. You can watch that on Footprint Network, at footprint.tv. You can watch it on your phone, your Apple TV, I think, your Roku. Sorry, Footprint, if I'm butchering that. But some of the shows I'm excited about, aside from Love Darvany, we worked with this great show called Adultish last year. We were helping them get to Korea, and we tried to take a step back because we got busy with our own in-house projects this year. But I still love what they do. They're in the process of getting ready for the next season. I really recommend checking them out. And then some of the stuff that we're working on now that I'm really excited about, that's kind of like in the pre-production stages. I'm working on a teaser for a potential horror movie short that's with a great graphic novelist I'm good friends with named Jeff Kaufman. And I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con with him soon to talk about it. And also working with this great pilot called How Am I Doing with a guy named Ken Perelstein. And I'm really stoked to see where it's going to happen. It deals a lot with the struggles of addiction and like following your dreams and dealing with family, and it's funny and cynical, which is my favorite kind of work. So I'm excited to share about that. And then we got some new goodies coming out, but you'll have to check out the website first. So
very cool, very cool. So in terms of this, it sounds like you have kind of a wide array of stuff. Like you have like what finance people would refer to as a diversified portfolio.
It's rather diverse.
If somebody wanted to work with you, kind of what bells and whistles would their project need to have, or what are the criteria that you guys look for in terms of, we want to make that? Like what does that for you?
What tickles my fancy in terms of producing projects, I definitely would say make sure you know your narrative. And if it's the untrusting narrative model, which is very hot right now, cool, but know it back and forth. You should know your project better than I should know your project. Definitely have some like concept scenes or concept storyboards together. I would like to see how far you took it on your own, because I started my company out of nothing, out of the sheer fact that I realized I couldn't work in corporate and be a full-time actor and whatever. And I did that out of my sheer, ambition about life. And I think that, when it comes to projects, I want to see how ambitious you are, because the more ambitious you are, I don't care if you have no money. If you have no money, come to me. If you pitch me really well, I swear I'll work on your project. At least I'll give it a chance. And if not, I'll mentor you into getting to the next level. But to me, I really want to know how far you took it, because when it comes to talking to these gatekeepers, I like to call them, they're going to ask the same thing. Like, what stopped you? And if it's the money, it's going to be like, there's people coming to networks right now with full-blown seasons. I mean, High Maintenance is probably my biggest inspiration right now, one of my biggest inspirations right now. And they were a short-form series that is now a full comedy length on HBO. And I think that, they did it because they wanted to. So let me see what you want to do, how much you did on your own with your limited scope of life and production life, and come to me with it and say to me, like, pitch me the way you would want me to pitch for you, and I'll be there for you every step of the way.
I think you brought up a good point, because one of the things that I've done in my career, and one of the things that I've found is like storyboards don't cost you anything.
Nope.
Writing doesn't cost you anything. Mm-hmm. It's literally no money. But I think people, even who are new to the industry, they have this mentality of like this false dream of getting paid to write their own screenplay, mm-hmm. and they don't want to do anything on spec. Mm-hmm. And it's like people are actually making pilots and presenting them,
and still not getting them made. My name.
Right. I mean, it's a sort of a catch-22 because it's great to see that you have something, but I know a lot of networks are like, well, if that's not the quality that would go on the air, so if you don't have the money to make it, we're not going to give it to you. We're just going to say we don't want that aesthetic, kind of thing. So, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do on paper. Like you can do treatments, you can do a series Bible, you can come with a pilot script, you can come with storyboards, and if you're an artist or something like concept art, or this is going to be the look, or even when I had a producer called James Oxford here, he was talking about he was going to do a feature. And he said, put together a lookbook.
Yeah.
And because I don't want to be critical of the people that you often pitch, but you tell me if I'm right or wrong. A lot of times they don't have the imagination to see your project, and the more you can put in front of them, the better off you are to realize it. Like Star Wars never would have gotten made without Ralph McQuarrie. Without seeing those paintings of like this is the world and what it's going to look like, that movie's not happening. Is there like, are you looking right now more for narrative stuff or more for unscripted stuff?
I'm looking for both. I'm just looking for a really intriguing story that's different than what I've seen, or something that I would want to be in and something that I would want to watch. Granted, sometimes those answers are different, sometimes they're the same. But I think you said a really good point. No one's in your head. So if you can't articulate to a layman about, and maybe that's really negative, but if you can't tell the average person and paint a picture for them and tell your story the same way like ancient story like the Odyssey were told, how do you expect someone like me to get in your head?
Well, yeah, and that's the whole. That's what we're doing here, kids. We're communicating with other people, and if you're not good at communicating, you're not going to last very long in the business.
And don't forget to ask questions. Okay. It's okay to not know.
Yeah, and I feel that's kind of a thing too, particularly with the younger generation. Not to knock anybody, but it's sort of a know-it-all generation and I think it's out of sort of either like a guilt or embarrassment, or if they think if they can't Google it, it doesn't exist. And a lot of times the stuff that we're talking about, like this, when you meet with networks or you talk to these people, they don't give you a roadmap. No. They don't tell you anything, and it's sort of purposely constructed to not let anybody in. That's why you said, as you call them, gatekeepers. And how do you talk to those people? And because they speak their own language, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think another thing though is that there are so many places to be seen now. We were just talking earlier about the fact like IGTV just launched. Facebook has Watch on Facebook. OTT, for anyone who doesn't know what I mean when I say that, OTT means over the top. It's the buzzword for like virtual network. Like Roku is a device that homes OTT networks in a short, explanation. There's no excuse. Like YouTube is YouTube, and I'm not going to hate on YouTube, but YouTube is, fallen apart because like they decided to be really censory after being known for not being a censorship place. And I think that, even so much as this, like coming here and just saying like, I want to have a show, I want to have a podcast, making it happen. There are more places, if you say, if you haven't exhausted all options, and if your foot's in the sand and there's no way out, well, go through the sand. Like, stop saying like all these roadblocks, because if you keep obsessing over it, you're never gonna make it happen, and it's a hard road.
And action is worth a lot, just and it doesn't have to be, because if you don't have 0.5 million or 0.5 or 1.5 million an episode, you don't have to start there. Like, not everything, you're not going to make Breaking Bad, your first time out. I'm sure your first shows weren't, at that level. But, you can make something to show what you can do. And it's important to have that. I did all of my early stuff is because I was like, nobody's going to hire me if they don't see something I can do.
Of course. And just showing the fact that you did something is sometimes, even if it's, not quality, it's definitely, high quality, the fact that you actually made something. There's so many people that talk about making stuff that don't. And you said before, it's not going to be $1 million an episode. We shot our first test footage of a Love Darwiny show on, our Canon T5i, and DP, who's my production partner and boyfriend, because he puts up with my crap, as a producer.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah, it's a whole different show. But I'm just saying, like, having someone that I trust to work with is huge. But also having someone that I trust to work with that knows their equipment is a big deal. We shot on a Canon T5i with some lenses we bought off Amazon, and we built a whole show around that. And we filmed the entire new season on the same camera, and we just got some great new equipment this year. The quality looks amazing because the DP knew how to like maximize the potential of the quality of the camera. And that goes the same thing with an iPhone. Like people tell me, "Oh, my iPhone's going to shoot really badly." It's a 4K camera. If you go on YouTube and you just watch a video on how to maximize the potential of your iPhone, you can make a great show. It just because you have a red, everyone wants to shoot on a red right now, right? So like everyone wants to shoot on a red because they think it's going to be great, but a red might not be the cinematic quality you need for your story. So just find out what your ranges are and just find someone that knows their equipment.
Yeah, the Tom Sachs and Van Neistat movie it's like an art experience. It's a documentary of their like moon project, their space. It's called a space program.
Oh, interesting.
That whole thing was shot on a T2i. and like robot security cameras, and it looks great. I mean, it was a feature film and did pretty well for a documentary.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean the truth is out there. Not to quote the X-Files, but like it doesn't cost a lot to make, but initiative is, I think, worth more than gold.
Definitely.
And being able to do that. Anyway, that's a great note to wrap up on.
Yeah.
Before we go, tell us one more time where you can find you on the web.
You could find me personally at Jordie, JORDIE _Starbaby, STARBABY. That's for all my social media stuff. And then for all of my Starbaby stuff, it's StarbabyEnterprises.com. And the social stuff is Starbaby ENTNYC.
Great. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys once again for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more episodes of No Rest of the Weekend, you can always find them on our website, btrp.nyc/podcast. You can also find us on Anchor and Stitcher and iTunes and Google Play and all those places that you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Miss Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, for Behind the Rabbit Productions. I'm Jason Godbey, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.